In vitro fertilization is an ethical way to produce and grow life. What is in vitro fertilization? It is a process in which they extract eggs from the mother and sperm from the father and combine them in a petri dish to try to create embryos. Then they implant them back into the mother, and 9 months later she is able to produce a baby. There are some statistics that go over of how successful this is, and we'll go over them later. People believe that in vitro is unethical for the following reasons. 1. The embryos that are made by the in vitro process are live human beings, and the ones that are not used are discarded, used for medical research, or otherwise exterminated. In a study by the UK, over 2 million embryos were lost during an in vitro fertilization. That was just in the United Kingdom. So is this ethically or morally right? Number 2. An Australian and U.S. study from fertilitycare.net have shown that children conceived with assisted reproductive technology, or example, in vitro, have about twice the risk of having a major birth defect or low birth weight than children conceived naturally. And number 3, anyone can use these embryos for a price. It doesn't matter if you're married or not. I will address each one of these objections. Number 1, the embryos made by the in vitro process, the ones that are not used, are donated to science, exterminated, or otherwise not even used. I want to use this as 3 different arguments. A, the process must be unsuccessful if so many are lost. B, the sheer volume of unborn deaths. And C, the extras that are used inappropriately. I'm going to address A and B first. Really, the objection shows to achieve the reasonable success rate with in vitro, you must be prepared to produce excess embryos over and above the 1 or 2 you intend to replace. Statistics show, according to the Society of Assisted Reproductive Technology, the approximate chance of giving birth to a live baby after in vitro is 43% for women under age 35, 36% for women age 35 to 37, 18% for women age 41 and over. And this was according to the parenting.com article. However, if you look at the in vitro process, a woman is heavily monitored throughout her whole entire pregnancy, before and after. She finds out she is pregnant 2 weeks after the embryo is implanted. For a mother to produce a baby naturally, she doesn't find out she's pregnant until 4 to 8 weeks after she gets pregnant. It's usually when she misses her first period that she realizes that something's up. So in my infant development class, we have learned that over 80% of all embryos or fertilized eggs are sloughed between the 1 and 8 week range, and a mother doesn't even know it. In vitro fertilization, they are heavily monitored to the point where they find out if the embryo is implanted in the mother by 1 or 2 weeks after it's been in there, which is a huge difference. You can't even compare the two. So the actual statistics show that it's actually a higher increased chance to get pregnant through in vitro than it is if you try to get pregnant naturally. B, the donating of the excess embryos is actually a very wonderful and beautiful process, because there are people who you can have, because of the sheer volume that you need, so you can have anywhere from 2 to 40 eggs or embryos take. You may not want to use all of them because either of health reasons or really you don't want 20 children. There are different ways in which you can use those embryos ethically. So the first one is by donating them to science. These people take it as, I am donating a life to save a life, because in studies, research has shown amazing promise for treating conditions such as Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, spinal cord injuries, and others that involve the death of brain cells and other nerve tissue. And this was also by a parenting.com article. They use a lot of prayer and introspection before they do this, but a lot of couples do this because they feel like by donating a life, they can save a life. Second way that a couple can use this is by donating this to another infertile couple. There are couples out there who can't produce eggs or who can't produce sperm or are infertile in different ways. By donating the excess embryos, they are able to give these unfertile couples a chance to basically adopt, to be able to have a baby at a very young age, at basically a 2-week-old embryo age, which is a beautiful way to do it. Number 3, they can postpone the decision. They have the option to freeze the remaining embryos. And they can freeze them for up to, I think, 5 years or even longer. However, the chance of those embryos taking decrease with each year they freeze them. This process a lot of couples do because they will have one child 1 year and then wait 2 years and have another child, which is a very amazing way to sustain these embryos' lives. The second argument that they have against in vitro is children conceived with assistive reproductive technology, for example in vitro, have about twice the risk of having a major birth defect. It may be true that it's higher risk to have a birth defect through this process. However, the chance to have a healthy, normal child is there. I have 2 aunts who did this process, and they together have 5 children that are normal, healthy, and happy. One aunt did a very hard, intensive process, and in the end, she was able to have a healthy little boy and a healthy little girl. 2 years later, a healthy little girl. My other aunt had a healthy little boy. 2 years later, she had healthy, beautiful twin girls. And now they are a healthy, happy family, and these lives have a chance to come. Elder Oaks said, from the perspective of the plan of salvation, one of the most serious abuses of children is to deny them of birth. There is a tragic irony in the multitude of children eliminated or injured before birth, while throngs of infertile couples long for and seek babies to adopt. That is why in vitro fertilization is so important and so ethically right to produce and grow life. Thank you.